Hi, thanks for tuning in and watching In Realty with me, Nawati Adnan. On last week, we've talked about whether to buy or to rent, and this week, since we know that the real estate prices has gone up, is it valuable or is it wise for you to have a property that is of an auction property? So with me today is James Ong. He is the director of Fortis FP Consultancy. Thank you so much again, James, for taking the time.
Nice to be back here again.
Okay, yeah. So James, with all the things that been laid upon to you know, normal people like you and me, you know, my first home scheme, and then they said that the prices of property will shoot down, and then also there's another option of you know, normal people to own a property that will be an auction property. So with your expertise, is it advisable for one to go for an auction property?
Okay, Lina, at first we define what is auction property. Auction property is basically a property that is in distress. Means a property where the owner is unable to pay the bank or is waiting for a legal action called foreclosure. Then this property is actually put into the market by the auctioneer to be open to the public to buy. Buying auction property depends on individual, but if you are a first-time home buyer, you have to do a lot of research because auction property is not so simple. There are a lot of consideration you have to consider. But there are people who are actually expert in auction properties. They know well the procedures, the terms, the sales, and the market value. So there are two types of things. You know, you should consider whether are you able to maximize the value by buying auction property or not. Yeah.
So by that, who would you say the most suitable person to own an auction property, if not the first-time house buyer?
Yeah. A lot of people actually go to auction properties because there is, at the present moment, a lot of property available in the market.
Okay.
Some of these properties are available because there are a demand for it, just like any assets, whatever. Actually. So there are people who are investors. They have the cash, so they basically attend property auctions and they look at these properties and say, you know, maybe this property is 30% below the market price. If I were to acquire this auction property, if I were to do up the property, I may put it back to the market. And when you sell the market, you can actually get a property gain. On the other hand, there are people who like property and they shop around for a good bargain. So they do some research and they thought maybe I'll buy this bungalow at this price, you know, I would like to have my dream home, I modify it, you know. So there are two types of people. One is an investor who buy to make money. The other one is to buy a property and modify it, create it a unique signature or to be their own home.
And for those kind of people, what would you say be the points for them to consider before making that decision?
For people who actually wants to buy an auction property, which is advisable to go through a few steps. Number one is if you're buying for investing or buying for own, first you zoom down the type of property you want. Let's say you say, okay, I want to buy a semi-D in this area, let's say Taman Tun, whatever it is. So you zoom in the property you want to buy rather than general part. So you look at this property, then you do a little bit of research. How much will this property be worth, a little bit korang or estimate. And you also have to go through the process of auctioning. You must know how much you have to prepare. So in other words, these are the consideration. To go for a property, you must actually come out with a banker's check. You buy a banker's check, 10% of the reserve price. The property is 1 million, so you have to basically go to the bank and make the bank draft or banker's check for 100,000. Then you register with the auctioneer house or maybe in the courts of Malaysia. Then you basically go into auction. And you must know also the process. If you're committed, if you manage to bid for a property, what are things you need to do? Like you have actually pay up the balance, then you have to sign a sales of contract, 90 days, you basically have to execute on this. These are the considerations.
And there are so many auction houses out there now, especially. So and there are so many people who unfortunately fall trapped to, you know, all sorts of risk and also all sorts of fraud. So what would your advice be for people to look out for?
I think the most important part is that you must see what is your aim of buying an auction property. So if let's say your aim is to invest, I'm very sure you have to be well versed with the investment criteria. How much is it? Where is this area? Will you be able to do it? How much you need to renovate? Because auction property, most of the time, you're unable to see the whole property. And one of my tips I give to my clients is, you want to buy auction property, you go and see the property, you ask the neighbor. You know, last time who's staying here, how's the condition, what do you think? So you have to do a little bit of research part of it. This is the reason when auction property comes into the market, one has to really handle all the issues.
Okay, so your main advice would be doing your research, and also the last point you were saying?
The last point, sorry, I want to add in. The last point is that when you buy an auction property, The best is to get ready financing.
Okay.
Means you go to a bank, with your credit rating, you can actually say, okay, I want to get a pre-approved housing loan line. Let's say you're able to get, let's say 900,000, the property you're buying is 1 million, so more or less, which is very important because buying an auction property is very straightforward to the seller.
Okay.
The auctioneer will tell, okay, you sign this contract, you pay this amount of money, that's it, you have to take delivery of it. If not, they'll be forfeited. So of course, the person who's buying the auction property will have to take a lot of consideration other than getting the financing.
Okay.
Because the buyer or the purchaser, you manage to bid it, you have to actually pay costs to actually transfer the ownership or take possession. After you take it, you also have to make sure what's inside. Sometimes those things may not be what you expect. You have to do repairs, renovation. Before the property you actually buy from the auction house is actually livable. So these are the considerations one should actually take in consideration before going and just buy. It may look cheap or low price, but you must add in those costs you don't see. These are end of the day to see whether is it worthwhile. If not, why do you buy an auction property and why do you buy a property in the open market or you buy a property from a developer? So these are the comparisons you have to consider.
So in a nutshell, is it cost efficient or is it value for money to buy an auction property?
For those people, investor, they know the game.
Okay.
So they know the game. So their intention is to make money. So it'll be cost efficient for them because they can calculate how much, what is the bidding limit. Sometimes with the property, after a certain price, they will not go into it because they know that if they go into it, they will not be able to make money. For those people who wants to buy for themselves, then they must be aware of the risk. Once you're aware of the risk, one should not go in blindly. You must know roughly how much will it cost you, the lawyer fees, the stamping, the renovation. Once you've decided, then you go in. Like many things, first time is always an experience.
Yeah, of course. You've got to be armored and prepared.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you so much, James. Another info-packed episode.
Thank you.
So see you again next week on In Realty.